enjoyable there for a couple hours, and it was good to get a win and got to build on that and put one foot in front of the other. And so obviously our goal is to win each week. So when you get that, then there are things you got to correct aren't as glaring. But a lot of work to go. The score wasn't indicative of how we played. The negative is we got to play a lot better this week in playing a good opponent in Benedict.
Well, Coach, you get a big win there, really kind of flip the score a little bit, 50-6 over Livingston College. And I want to start here, man. Anytime as a defensive coach, I'm sure you hold the team to under 100 total yards. That's got to be a really good feeling. I know it doesn't matter who you play. If you can do that, that's a good football game.
Definitely. The kids did a nice job. Our defensive staff, those guys did a good job. It was good. You hold a team to 40 yards rushing, you're going to win most games. And we were able to make them pretty one-dimensional and then get some turnovers, get some hits, and got them in a lot of long yardage situations. And anytime that happens, man, you're going to play in your odds. So it was good. Played as poorly as we played the first game. We played equally as good this game, and something to build on and keep getting better.
Coach, what was the biggest message to the team during this past week of practice? I know you guys played a really solid team out of the gate in Valdosta State, really a barometer kind of test for you where you mentioned this. You guys were hanging with them through the first quarter and a half, and then you just kind of let it slip out of your hands a little bit with some turnovers and just a lot of mistakes. What was the biggest message in practice this week getting ready for this game?
Well, your week of preparation will determine your outcome on Saturdays, and I thought we had a really good week of prep last week, and as a result, we played well. And we played harder than they did, and I keep going back to that. Game one, Valdosta outplayed us. They played with better effort, better mojo, made plays we didn't. This week, we flipped it and played with more effort, more mojo, made plays, just had good energy all game, and I think that showed, and that's got to be our formula for us to win is we got to play harder than the other team and create turnovers on defense and be able to run the ball on offense. And it took us a little while to get going, but we had a nice goal line stand right there off the get-go on defense, and then from there pretty much played real good on that side of the ball and offensively started slow, and it was kind of like a movie. You're getting ready to shut off, and then finally there's a good scene in it, and we got going and scored a bunch of points in the second quarter. But, how we prepare, and I don't know if you're getting the coach speak, Christian, but how we prepare – and then playing harder than our opponent, those things will always work hand in hand in winning football games.
Is that something that we maybe underestimate when we are, as media and fans, just evaluating football teams? Is we like to look at the recruits and we like to look at the coaches. We like to look at the yards and the box scores. But, I mean, is that a common character trait you'd say for successful football teams is that they play just harder than the other team?
It's not a common. It is the characteristic of the winning team generally. I would be willing to say if you outrush your opponent, there's a study right now, 87% of Division I teams that won the Russian battle in the first 2 weeks came out victorious. So that was the most leading stat. It wasn't passing yards, which everybody wants to make it about throwing the football. It was who outran who. And the next thing was turnover margin. And there's a non-quantifiable statistic is playing harder. It on film when you watch it. Our guys are playing harder or their guys are. One thing whenever we played LSU, everywhere I was at, man, their guys played super hard when I was in the SEC, and it just showed. And I got there and kind of saw the inner workings of it and just how hard those guys went. And it was just you when you play against it, if you're not prepared, you're going to be in trouble in a hurry. And we got to do that. So since I've been here, it's about, man, let's come out of the gate playing hard as hell, having fun with good energy. And then, the commentators don't talk about it, but the week of prep that you have, that's super important. And it sets the tone for the game and kind of lays the foundation. And any coach will tell you that what you do during the week will pay dividends on Saturday.
Again, we always go back to the who's tackling, who's making the big plays. But I know for you and your coaches, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it could be as simple as how many hats do you have around the ball when the play's over?
Definitely. When the play ends, how many hats are in the screen, and guys want to talk about 5 stars and all these recruits. I mean, we got a guy on that we signed this year that was a player of the year, and he don't even dress, right now. And he's got to learn how to practice and play and be a guy who we can count on. And he's got no clue right now. And so those things are great in theory, but when you get here, who are the guys that work really hard and who put study and learn and just don't rely on ability, but are willing to put the work ethic to match their ability. And those guys generally rise to the top.
I've always heard from coaches, you have a good team when you're not having to tell the players that, but when the players are telling the other players that. Are you there yet? Or are you still working?
Well, still working. We want to be player led, and any good football team I've been, the players set the culture. They're the temperature or the thermostat in the room. But as a head coach, you got to be the thermostat setter or be the temperature in the room. But you hope eventually those guys are, and they're getting better and better. And we got some really quality guys. We just have a lot of young guys we're counting on, and some of those guys are still learning. And I think it was a good experience to go through the Valdosta State game and understand the preparation you got to do. And I tell this story all the time that, guys come here and wearing their letter jacket, and after about 2 weeks, you don't ever see those again because nobody cares what you did at, Paducah County when you were in high school with your all-state 5-star. That crap goes out the window the second the whistle's blown. So nobody knows what you did and nobody cares, frankly, and you got to prove yourself all the game. It's the same thing in the NFL. It's the same thing when you get out in the real world. Nobody cares what you were, a valedictorian in high school or salutatorian. It's can you get the job done, and are you going to get it done?
And absolutely, Coach. And looking at some of these guys, I'll say this about the letter jacket: too hot down here to wear it anyway. I mean, you might get 2 weeks every year where you could break it out. By then, though, it's all mothbally and it smells weird. So it's just not the best part of the country. I think we need to come up with something different besides Letterman's jackets for this area.
Oh, they need to go back to the cardigans, like in Back to the Future with Marty.
That or like Letterman's tank tops.
The cardigan sweaters with the buttons, and they got the big block letter here, and then man, that has like a little bit of class to it. It also just kind of sets off differently. Walk into the diner and there's Susie, and everybody's looking at you with your cardigan on. Everything's
black and white, and she's drinking a milkshake. It's a whole vibe there. But Coach, I'm on the Savannah State Athletics website, and that's one place where we can make some money is switching up the Letterman's jacket game. But I'm thinking of another spot. Whoever invents a stat for offensive linemen that we can make quantifiable, because I'm looking down the box score here, the individuals, and I see a bunch of running backs, I see a bunch of quarterbacks, I see all the defenders. You never see the offensive linemen's names mentioned on here. So if we can figure that out, I think we'd make a lot of money. But just looking, Coach, at the rushing yards, I think that's the one line where you can kind of determine that, and sacks given up, where you can determine how the offensive line did. 347 rushing yards on the day. And then obviously with the sacks, you take out 318 to total, but 5.1 yards a carry for your team. I think that's basically where you can determine how the offensive line played. That's got to be a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, they played much better, and we just got to keep going there. I mean, our formula is outrush them. I think it was 260 or 310. I can't remember the amount we outrushed them. But, if you win that and you're able to run the ball, and, we did try to come up with a quantifiable deal. So, Christian, we now have the pancake syrup award that we give out. And that's for the best knockdown or the most knockdowns. And our guy with the most knockdowns this week also had the best knockdown, and that was Stephen Grief. So it's a nice trophy that we give out. It's actually a syrup bottle mounted on a trophy deal. So he gets to have that with pride for the week. And as long as he does it again, he'll get to keep it. If not, somebody else will win it. But it's always hard to quantify the offensive line as far as statistically, other than, did you run the football? Were you protect the quarterback? Did you control the clock? But I don't know what good stat you can come up. I'm sure it's somebody on ESPN or somebody, maybe it's down in Brunswick will come up with something here that they can quantifiably denote a good offensive line play.
I'm gonna get deep dive into it. Offensive linemen are my favorite people to talk to because they're honestly the smartest people in the room, Coach. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback, but they're probably the most intelligent players on the team, and then they also have to deal with the most crap during a game because you got a bunch of sweaty 300-pound dudes hitting you every single play.
Well, I was a defensive lineman. I was an offensive lineman at one point, but defensive linemen are generally the best looking. Offensive linemen are generally the smartest because they've got to survive on their smarts, not their looks. But they do eat a lot, and we have several buffets here in town that would be not happy to see that group come rolling in.
Oh, they do some damage for sure. Coach, we got to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll dive into some of the individual performances from the game and get another look ahead to this week. Another perfectly timed kickoff, 6 p.m. coming up, and it is a faculty and staff appreciation night. So we'll dive into that when we come back here on the Shawn Quinn Show on ESPN Radio Savannah. Talking Savannah State Tigers football here on ESPN Radio Savannah, wrapping up a big 50-6 win. And Coach, pretty good play from your quarterbacks this past week, and you only threw the ball 13 times. But JT Hardish completed 6 of 8 for 164 and 2 touchdowns. He added 62 yards and another touchdown on the ground. A really efficient, explosive day for him.
Played well and has continued to put back-to-back weeks together on how he's practiced and, hit some open receivers. They played a man coverage and loaded the box to try to stop the run and left us one-on-one with some guys, and he did a nice job. JT was a guy in the gun. They used to call him young Lamar Jackson when he was back in Mary Persons, a shorter version of him, but great high school player, 12-1 his senior year over at Mary Persons in Forsyth, and won a bunch of football games, and he could run it and throw it all over the place. And, that's he's comfortable in that. And he's played well. And he and Devon Gibbons have both done a great job of handling both guys playing and been their biggest supporters, and they're also good buddies. So that makes it a lot easier.
And Coach, another big day for Anaj Carter. He goes over 75 yards on just 3 receptions. Also had 18 yards on the ground. Seems like he's really getting comfortable inside this offense.
He is. We're just trying to find creative ways to get him the ball and get out of his way. He's an elite player. He's a heck of a returner. He's a competitive guy. We got to find ways to get him the ball more, frankly. And, that's the challenge of our staff. And when you're an option-based team, you take with what the read is, but trying to find creative ways to get him the ball and let him rip, because he can make plays and make people miss, and he's just got a knack for getting in the end zone.
All right, Coach, we all know about Hardage, Durham, and Gibbons, but you had some other guys that had some success on the ground. Malak Walker, the kid out of, I believe, is he out of Washington County?
He's out of Washington, freshman out of Washington County.
Yep. And then Jordan Grant and Trenton Johnson, they all had pretty good days for you guys on the ground.
Yeah, played your guy from down in McIntosh Academy right down there in Darien. Awesome. Love Darien down there. Go down there and have a great meal. But
good shrimp.
Yeah. But he got in a game, played well. He'd been injured and played well. Jordan Grant played much better out of Savannah here from Savannah Christian. And so we got a bunch of guys in the game. And, Shamarcus Poole was one of our really good players out of Washington County. We held him with an injury, and he'll have him back this week. So we got a main guy and then a bunch of guys, and we want to try to play 4, 5, 6 guys, and they're all different change-ups. It's like a pitching core where this guy comes in and tries to get 2 outs for you. This guy's your reliever, and this guy's your closer. And, D'Angelo is your main guy. He's your Rick Sutcliffe. He's going to pitch 7.5 innings and then hopefully get some guys come in there and help finish the job with him.
And Coach, defensively for you guys, Tony Roundtree leads you with tackles, also added a sack in there, and then Kewan Harris added a sack as well.
Tony's a freshman. I know a lot of folks don't know him. He's a great big guy. Won a state championship as a shot putter over at Josie in Augusta, and is just going to be a really good player, super good guy, and fun guy to be around. And we signed 2 big defensive tackles, one out of Jenkins County and Jaquisto Lee, and then Tony. And Tony made a bunch of plays and is playing well. Kewan did some good things on Saturday and got to help us keep working and got a bunch of ability. So had a bunch of guys play, and we had about 3 or 4 linebackers that were out that were back this past week, which was big for us to get those guys back, and that really helped us.
And Coach, I don't want to say a slow start, but just on the tackle sheet, Walter Yates, it's just the tackles haven't been there. What have you seen out of him early this season?
Well, honestly, Walt's been banged up. We held him this past week, and hopefully he'll be able to go this week, but didn't play a whole lot, was banged up, and was our leader on defense, our best player. So we got to get him going back on, hopefully get him healthy. But, we held him this past week, and hopefully moving forward we'll have him. But, it's day by day, how those things go. So we got a bunch of guys we're playing, and, we're kind of, as I've told you before, like the WWE, we want to tag team that thing and have as many guys get in the game and help us win.
One of my favorite guys watching when he was in high school, Dion Bell, just a playmaker all over the field. What have you seen from him early this season?
Working really hard, playing some. He's playing a lot of special teams, playing some on defense. We moved him from safety to linebacker, and I think that's going to be his best position. But we did it midway towards the end of training camp. So he's catching up. He's got a lot of ability, and he's played in every game, but we got to get him more and more snaps. And awesome dude, plays super physical, plays hard. And, I think long-term he's going to be a really good linebacker.
I know you always talk about keeps you up at night with like the third down blitz packages, and there's a lot of things that can make a coach's stomach kind of twist over. Quarterback dropping back, and you see the left tackle miss the block. Just so many things can add anxiety. I don't know if anything causes anxiety for coaches quite like field goal kickers. And my guy Kenneth Lockhart, 1 for 3 on the week. Is that just an anomaly, or are we expecting a bounce back?
He's had a really good camp, done a really good job. Just had an off night, and he's got to kick better. To his credit, he manned up to it and said, "Hey, I got to be better, kick better." And my hope is that he had some struggles, that this will be an early slump that he gets out of, and from it he's on a good rhythm the rest of the year. So I try to leave the kickers alone. They're a different breed, and those guys have their own. It's a different mindset, and it's so few snaps that when they get them, they're so momentous, and so you want to really do a good job when a guy's not playing well at that position and kind of continue to support him. He's super respected by our guys. He's one of our captains, and the guys really like him. He works his butt off, so he'll get it right, and he'll have a good week this week. And he's got a great leg, and he's just going to continue to get better and better. And sometimes you have those early on in your career, and hopefully he'll learn from it, won't let it happen again.
What's the queasiness level when the kicker goes out? It doesn't matter who the kicker is. Just as the head coach, your team drives down the field, you're going to kick a field goal. What's that queasiness level like for you watching the PAT or the field goal team set up? Because there's a certain, I guess, hand motion that all coaches do, and they kind of like lean back and they bring the hand to the mouth as they're watching the field goal kicker. And to me, that just screams anxiety.
Yeah. I guess I don't really understand anxiety, but I tell you during the game, I think I do. But there's a bunch of angst. Let's put it that way. Just thinking about it right now is giving me some angst. But
there's just so many things that can go wrong.
So many variables. It's like a riddle with 64 options. It's like you watch a movie and then you can pick your ending, and there's 92 options on it. I'm going to try to be Ted Lasso here and stay positive. You just try to find a way to I learned this, and this is an interesting thought, and I've heard Coach Belichick say it. I've heard Philip Fulmer say it, is one of the things you got to learn to do is not lose the game. And what those guys meant by that is do stuff from your end that puts you at a distinct disadvantage. If you just play the game and prevent the preventables, you give yourself a chance to win every week. And that's silly penalties, missed kicks, infractions that you can control. Like, don't give the game to the other team. And you see that week in, week out, people give stuff away when they've got victory, snatch, victory, the feet from the jaws of victory, kind of deal. Right. And so that's the biggest thing, a lesson for our guys is, hey, let's play smart. And, but sometimes, man, stuff it's a momentum and everything else. It's a funny world. So we want to be on the good end of those things. And man, it keeps you awake at night, or 3 o'clock in the morning, you wake up, stare at the ceiling and go, well, what about this? So, it is what it is.
Really cool point there. We got to take a quick break, though. We'll come back, take a look at Benedict College, and wrap up this week's edition of the Shawn Quinn Show next on ESPN Radio Savannah. Alumni and faculty staff night coming up 6 p.m. at Ted Wright Stadium, but also, Coach, kicking off the SEAC play. I know for you, this is what matters, getting there, trying to win a conference championship. Benedict College coming to town. What should we expect out of them? A talented football team from our memories of a couple years ago, but obviously a lot can change since then.
Yeah, they're talented. They're fast. They're number one offense in the league. They score the most points. I think they're 43 points a game right now. And the first 2 teams they played, they blew them both teams out. So they're playing well. Got really quality offense. Quarterbacks playing good. Running backs running the ball well. They got some really good skill guys. So it'll be a challenge for us defensively, but we got to have a good week and finish up tomorrow. And then defensively, they're very sound in what they do. They're much improved. Some of the same personnel from 2 years ago, different guys. It's like us. We got a lot of the same guys and a lot of new guys. Kind of
sure.
Over 2 years, you have some guys come and go, but they've done a good job, and they're in first place in the league, and we're below them looking up. So we got to play well, and it's what you get in here for is to go play good teams and find a way to compete and play your best. And that's the challenge this week, is about us playing our best football and having some fun in the process.
And Coach, I know, again, starting conference play, you actually have 2 conference games at home in a row coming up. What was the atmosphere like having that home game last week in front of, I'm not going to say a capacity crowd, because obviously still some restrictions going on with COVID, but in front of a crowd, put on a show? What was that atmosphere like?
It was good. It was good. It was good to hear a crowd cheer. I know our players were energized by it. I know it's just nice to have fans there. And that's the way a game's meant to be played. Let's call it like it is. You see all these things on TV with, packed out stadiums, and then just the places are rocking, and that's awesome, man. And that's what makes college football, I've said this before, such a unique sport. It's a lot like your English Premier League, where the crowd is just can then be a big factor. And so a lot of fun for us. Hopefully we'll have sold out stadiums here as we move forward and can really increase the capacity as we go along. But excited to have another home game, another big crowd, and have some fun with it.
Again, alumni and faculty staff night coming up on Saturday. If you're an alumnus, get out there, show your support to the Tigers. Got a really talented football team starting their conference run. Coach, we appreciate the time, and always fun talking football with you. Hope to see you, or looking forward to seeing. I know I see you out there on Saturday, so looking forward to seeing you out there on Saturday. Hoping to see the fans packing out the stadium. There we go.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Appreciate our alumni, our folks here on campus, our administration, and all the folks here that work and want to support them and our teachers here to this weekend and have some fun and go get win number 2. Go Tigers.
Again, if you miss any portion of the Shawn Quinn Show here today, you can always find it on ESPNCoastal.com or ESPN Coastal's YouTube. We hope to see everybody out at Ted Wright Stadium, 6 p.m. on Saturday.